Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for having me back. Like Mackenzie said, my name is Eisenstat, founder of Dream Ventures, and I was here last year able to give a talk on really my past and what we've done so far with Dream Ventures. And that talk is on our website at draemventures.com. If you guys want to look that up, I've had a really exciting, fun journey of going from hedge funds to think tanks, starting up nonprofits, then an organic farm, creating an incubator on that farm, and then really seeing that there were so many amazing ideas, but very little funding at the idea stage. So I decided to come out to Silicon Valley, go and start a new kind of venture capital fund where we take the microfinance model and apply it to venture capital. So with that, we see a really interesting trend over the past 3 years that we started investing in idea stage companies, in dream stage companies. Right now, 60% of 20-year-olds want to start their own business, but very few really have the tools to be able to do that. We see so much funding at the later stage investments, but very little really at that spark. So we've done a lot of work with different universities, with different nonprofits, with later stage investors, and it's been a fun journey so far. There's a seat over there, right there if you'd like. So I have an exciting story to tell all of you today, but I'd also like for it to be really interactive. And so to start with that, I'd like to show you all a hacking trick. All right, are you guys ready for this? So I'm going to ask you all to stand up. Stand up, put your hands on your hips. You guys done this before? You know this? Yeah, okay. And now chin way up. You gotta smile. Smile, yes, nice smile. So you're not smiling. Awesome. So right now you're hacking into the biochemistry of your body. There's a great TED Talk by a Harvard researcher saying that just holding this pose for 2 minutes lowers your cortisol levels. You gotta put your hands on your hips. Yeah, you got it. Lowers your cortisol levels, the fight or flight response mechanism. It increases your testosterone, the confidence hormone. So we're doing a magic trick right now, biohacking. So you gotta stand up, put your hands on your hips, smile. The smiling releases the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin. It makes you happy even if you're not happy. And then we're all gonna take a deep breath in and let it out. And that gets the oxygen to our brains. And while you're holding this, think about, this is the power pose is what they call it. Think about what your power is. What you're really meant to do in this world. What you're gonna start, what you're gonna create, and really what problems you want to solve. And at the end of the talk, we're going to go around and really share what we're all super passionate about, what our superpowers are, and how we're going to solve those problems. So I hope that this was a nice little biohack for you. It's great if you're about to give a talk like I'm doing right now. And hope that you can use this little tool in the future. So please sit down. Thank you all for participating. So where we last left off, since I was here last year, I was selected by the International Chamber of Commerce. Is this going? The International Chamber of Commerce to be the representative to the United Nations. And something really exciting happened last year that's been going on for years. And it was the first time in history that all the countries of the world have really come to a consensus on development, of what problems we want to solve, and really how we're going to solve those problems. So I had the great honor of really representing the international business community, talking about how social entrepreneurs, how impact investing, and sustainable innovation can really help with these goals. These are the goals, 17 comprehensive goals that really go through all the problems that we face as a civilization. And we have 15 years to achieve that. And I'll go through each one and really tell some of my experiences from that and my hopes for the next 15 years. And then I'm going to be really looking forward to hearing what you all think about how these all relate to you. So first, it's important to recognize that there's a large gap there. This might be a little hard to read, but we're going to have probably, those estimates are low, it's going to take about $120 trillion of funding to achieve these goals. These are huge goals, but we're looking at many more trillions, hundreds of trillions of dollars larger in the global finance industry. So while these are large goals, they're far from insurmountable. So we have governments committing to a lot of this funding. We have nonprofits, But this really has to come from the private sector. It really has to come from new ideas, new entrepreneurs, new businesses, and technology that can really achieve these goals. So let's talk a little bit about what these goals are, and we'll do it in a fun countdown way. So we'll start with 17. So 17 is really all about strengthening the cooperation for the goals. Now, this is so important that we have countries working together, but also going beyond that. Last year, I assembled a summit that we called Entrepreneurs, and this hope of creating entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs for the Sustainable Development Goals. So that includes the public sector, everything from governments at the very highest levels, the United Nations, all the way down to your local communities. Private sector, again, everything from large Fortune 100 corporations to the smallest of startups. Then, of course, we need to have the NGOs, the nonprofits, the humanitarian organizations working, and the educational institutions. That's where you all have the luxury at UC Berkeley of really being at the forefront of that social innovation. And so this now is an initiative where we're able to connect people from all those areas. With Dream Ventures, we really focus on these early stage entrepreneurs, helping them with that first bit of funding, then connecting them to the ecosystem. And this really shows that broad ecosystem of diversity working for the goals. But let's talk more about what those goals really mean. So the next goal is to achieve peace. And this is a pretty tall order, considering we've been at war for thousands and thousands of years. We still are very much like these tribes of monkeys eating each other for resources. But we have really unique opportunities for connecting and collaborating, really communicating. It's unprecedented that we're able to speak with anyone on this other end. How's it going?
Sorry.
No problem. So to catch you up, we're going through the new Sustainable Development Goals. Have you heard of them before?
Yes.
Awesome. So we're at goal 16 right now. We're counting down, so you haven't missed too much.
Cool.
All right. So we're talking about really how the private sector, how social entrepreneurs can work for these goals. And I love this quote. I think it's from a cheesy movie or play, but the opposite of war isn't peace, it's creation. Have any of you been to Burning Man before? No. You guys would love Burning Man. Highly recommend it. Burning Man is an amazing system of prototyping what it's like to build a civilization in one of the harshest environments in the world. And we've been able to show that at an old initiative we had of ours in Palo Alto called Be Human, where we connect startups with artists, musicians, chefs, writers. We're able to really take the creative class and tie that to technology. And I think that that's the new paradigm of looking at technology as an art and art as a technology. And I think that when we start to appreciate the cultures of the world and their art, their technology, we're going to start to be able to work more towards peace. Goal number 15, protecting land. This is a huge, very relevant issue right now. And the biodiversity is I think, particularly fascinating. I was just in Costa Rica working with several different groups, and they have the most biodiverse country in the world. And we're losing our species at a rapidly accelerating rate. So I think looking at how we can take technology and really be able to do that. This was the clean technology competition here at Berkeley that I was judged for. Have any of you been or competed in this, in the Clean Energy Open? Highly recommend it, really great group. How's it going? So we're talking about the Sustainable Development Goals right now. Are you familiar with them? All right, so you'll know. Now we're on goal number 15, and that's really protecting the land. We're talking about how we can have clean technology, new forms of innovation working for not just conserving the land, but being able to develop on it sustainably. Goal number 14, conserve the oceans. So there's talk about how we're really sea blind, and we don't really have a relationship with 70% of the world's surface, which is water. And right now we're losing our oceans at a rapidly accelerating rate with the acidification, with overfishing, just the pollution in the ocean. It's a huge issue, not to mention all the effects of climate change and the rising sea levels. And that's why I'm particularly excited about this, because that really, the oceans are the lungs of the world. We get most of our oxygen from the oceans in the plankton production. So I've been working on creating sustainable floating communities. This is Ephemerisle, another festival. Have you guys ever been to Ephemerisle before? No. So that's an exciting. They call this the Burning Man on the Water. It's in the Sacramento River Delta, and for a week, about 1,000 people go out and bring their own land. They have art, music, technology, education, all kinds of really great cultural experiences. This is a little blurry picture from above. It's in Mandeville Tip, and they create these amazing docks. And this was really a prototype of the seasteading movement, of being able to build floating communities, really on the water, that are completely sustainable. I just moved to Oakland on a big catamaran, and we're starting to prototype that here in the Bay. And we're working in Costa Rica, in Panama, in the Bahamas, working with sinking island nations. And the big dream is to take the plastic out of the ocean and 3D print it into floating cities. Now this starts to get really interesting when you look at what forms of governance looks like when you're in international waters, and how you can start to prototype systems of being able to live in space and on other countries, other planets, other worlds. Working with NASA right now, being able to create permanent moon bases, permanent base on Mars, of being able to manufacture in space, which I would love to talk with you all more about. But I think that being able to look far out into these wild ideas, we're able to actually take technology in and implement them right here on land. We put on a big festival on this old cruise ship that we've been restoring, 300-foot German ship. It was the first ship that Germany was able to build after World War II, and they really had it as this new peaceful, beautiful ship back in the 50s, and now it's this old ship, and we started restoring it, and we had a guy from NASA come and talk about how the oceans are really the final frontier. That water is actually one of the most abundant sources in the universe. We have water on the moon, on Mars, but he was talking about on the moon of Jupiter, Europa. It's about 1/3 the size of Earth, and I believe has 5 times more water than Earth. So if we're able to, how's it going? Good. We're going through the Sustainable Development Goals right now and talking about how social innovation can help solve them. And right now, we're on, what is this, goal number 14, and talking about how we can conserve oceans. And really working with oceans can actually take us from a type 0 civilization of being just on Earth. Are you guys familiar with the different types of civilizations? Type 1 is being able to work within your solar system. Type 2 is within your galaxy. Type 3 is across galaxies. So while it seems like these things are far away, our technology is moving at a rapidly accelerating rate. We're really at the knee of these exponential curves. So in the next 5, 10, 15 years, when 2030, when these Sustainable Development Goals are hoping to be achieved, the world is going to look far different, and hopefully the oceans as well. Goal 13 is to combat climate change, its impacts. This is huge, and I'm sure that you all are learning a tremendous amount about this. And I think that there's a lot going as far as climate change and then also pollution. And there are a couple ways of looking at it. These are all pictures I took, by the way. I enjoy photography. There's this hope that we can draw down our carbon production, that we can start to transition away from fossil fuels. But then we need to have a net positive impact. We need to not just sequester carbon, but not just stop producing carbon, but sequester it, to be able to take the carbon out of the air that's already there. Climate change is, as Ban Ki-moon says, we're the last generation that will be able to stop the effects of climate change, and really the first generation that can end poverty and solve these social issues. And they're truly intertwined. And so I think that looking into these new systems of cradle-to-cradle technologies, of being able to be completely sustainable, that everything either goes back into the biosphere or the technosphere, that everything down to the parts per million is really comes from these sources, and that we can be truly conscious in our design of how we create our products, how we live our lives and work within our cities. Goal number 12, along those lines, really talks about sustainable consumption. That is a core part of working with our environmental issues. How do we balance economic growth with environmental conservation? And I think that that's really exciting. I want to highlight one of our entrepreneurs. This is Binta Ayofemi. She graduated with a master's from Stanford I know you guys aren't the biggest fans of Stanford, but we do some work with them as well. And she really is an unbelievable artist, but also technologist in being able to develop plant-based technology. So she's developed systems of creating biological solar panels, algae-based battery systems, new types of bioplastics. And they really talk about biology being the new software, that we're able to really code into the natural language of our environments. And I think that's really exciting. She's collaborated with a professor at Stanford where they're able to turn trees into supercomputers. And I think that that's the new paradigm that we're just being able to hack into. Like when we did our power pose, we're able to hack into our brains. Imagine we can pull that up on a computer screen and really change around the coding. So I think when we look at consumption, everything down to what we use as plastics, to what we compute with, that all needs to be sustainable. Goal number 11, designing cities. So this, I think, is of the most exciting, that we now are seeing an explosion in population growth. And the majority of the world is under the age of 30 right now. People are moving now away from the cities. People are moving away from manufacturing jobs into the service industry. And we now, with new methods of transportation, are going to be able to develop systems of cities where we really have a design not based on necessity, but on art, about how we want to live and create our communities. And this will, I think, start to move into the water, but I think we'll move into other rural areas. Technologies like Hyperloop, are you guys familiar with Hyperloop? Elon Musk's vacuum tube that can get from San Francisco to LA in a half an hour. New types of supersonic transportation and flight. We're going to be able to really change our cities. But going back to the idea of cradle to cradle, they're able to take the land and move it on top of the roofs of these buildings, so that we don't have to work against nature, but really design our cities within the nature that we're living. So that's really exciting. Goal number 10 is to reduce inequality. I'm sure you all hear a lot about the issues of inequality. Now a new report came out that I believe 62 individuals, 62 have more wealth than the bottom 3.5 billion people in the world. This is a huge issue, and it's changed just a couple years ago. That number was in the several hundreds, and that is telescoping right now. And we need to really look at what our designs of economies look like. I taught an economics class at Stanford on inequality, and I opened up with just the idea that while things are so bad right now, it's really an amazing time that we're able to talk about how bad things are. That things have been bad for a long time. You can imagine medieval times and before. And the fact that we're aware of it, we're concerned about it, we want to attack these issues, I think just shows how far humanity has come and really how far we need to go. I want to talk for a second about equitable distribution. And I think that's been the real issue of balance when you talk about politics and what it looks like for these great debates of capitalism versus communism. And I think the problem right now is that we have these extremes. We have either this pyramid structure where a very small group of people has a tremendous amount of wealth and control, or we have a completely flat line where everyone is equal. And I think we need to move more towards an equitable, standard, normal distribution, the way nature is. So I think we need to have a bell curve for you statistics students, and we have to have the mean within certain standard deviations of the norms, and be able to really be conscious of where our outliers are. Protect the people at the bottom, and really honor the people who've been able to make it to the top. And I think that by finding that balance, by being able to create those compromises, we don't need to have a violent revolution. We don't need to take away the means of production. We don't need to destroy our productive systems of capitalism, but be able to have really more of an equitable and fair system of economics. Goal number 9, building infrastructure and innovation. This is one I'm of the most excited about because it really talks about innovation. And I think that we've really seen it in Silicon Valley here in the Bay Area. There are 5 schools in the US, 2 of them here, that really have the majority of venture capital funding going to them. There's this this culture of innovation. But that's really starting to change, and all over the world, these new Silicon Valleys are starting to pop up. Now you only need a cell phone, and you have all the world's knowledge at your fingertips. You have all the world's people. Really, this year we're passing the 50% threshold of people connected online. And truly, it's not just being able to be connected, it's what our computing power can do. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but we see a child in Africa or South America or any developing country, they have $1 trillion of computing power from the 1970s. With Moore's Law, our computing has gone up, doubled in power every year, halved in size and halved in price. And I think that we're now going to see an explosion of innovation. And I think that we need to see our institutions really adapt to that. This is a class and a workshop I led at Harvard and MIT, working with mostly Chinese students. So it's exciting to see this global culture of innovation working across different communities, different countries, and being able to create hackathons. And what I really like to do is create dreamathons. So have any of you ever participated in a hackathon before? Yeah, so I was just here over the weekend mentoring for the Codeathon at the Clinton Global Initiative, and they focus on specific problems. You come into those and you have maybe a weekend to create a startup, a piece of technology. But I don't think we talk enough about what those ideas coming into the project are. So I hope that you all will have more time to really dream about and ideate on what those solutions can be. Hopefully you guys are thinking about what yours are right now. Goal number 8, going along those lines very explicitly, is promoting the economy, being able to have an inclusive, sustainable economic growth. And I think that that's where, again, the finance industry really comes into play. That we see that, especially in venture capital, with how really our diversity is really lacking. Women and minorities get low single digits of venture capital funding. We see them geographically focused, we see them focused on industries that frankly don't deserve the funding. I think we really need to focus on what our finances look like. And if we spend $1, we're an investor. We vote with our dollars. Every dollar we spend is a true investment. And as consumers, I think it's really important to have a say in what is being invested in. This is my lead investor, Tim Draper. I went to Draper University for Entrepreneurship, highly recommend it. It was a boot camp when I first moved out to Silicon Valley. We had 40 students from all over the world working on amazing projects. We had 50 speakers from all types of industries, ending in a big pitch competition with venture capitalists. And Tim Draper he's one of the old generations of venture capitalists. He's invested in Skype, Baidu, and really all of Elon Musk's companies. So if you guys have seen the new Tesla, that's a big thanks to Tim Draper there. Goal number 7, modernizing energy. Our energy production is really a huge issue. A new report just came out recently that we have almost $6 trillion in fossil fuel subsidies in the US alone. And that's more than all of the world's budgets on healthcare. And if you think about the absurdity of fossil fuels, if you think about how the concept of taking these dead dinosaurs and combusting them and putting all these toxins out into the environment, just how outdated this system is, that we still are in many cases being forced to use, I think it's really a huge issue. But I think the key really is that everything is energy. This is a picture I took. I was in Costa Rica recently. They're of the most sustainable countries in the world. And there's a good amount of Instagram filtering going on. but what you see behind here is that they're burning the sugarcane fields. So even a country that gets a lot of its energy from renewable resources, they're still doing unsustainable practices. So we still have a long way to go, even in the most conscious, the most sustainable areas. And I really think that our technology will be able to work with that. Goal number 6, managing our water. Dirty water is the leading cause of death in the world. It is a huge, huge issue. And I think that we really take our clean water for granted. And I think a lot of people, even in the US with Flint now, are starting to see that. And in California, really, with our droughts. However, I think that these systems of scarcity are really just technological barriers, but really mental barriers. Singularity University, one of my favorite educational institutions located at NASA, they really talk about this exponential technology. And water is one of their grand challenges that they hope to achieve. And I recommend looking into Singularity University and the work that they're doing. And I think that we see with exponential technology, really our systems of scarcity around water are really completely achievable. And we can look at agriculture, for instance. That takes up most of our water. But if we can start to change where our food comes from, how we produce our meat, our protein, if we can start 3D printing that, if we can start shifting our diets, then water becomes a stem cell issue, not a drilling issue or spring or rain. It really changes. There are systems of graphene that they talk about now, being able to desalinate water, and the process of desalinating it actually produces an ion and creates electricity. So imagine being able to get water from salt water, fresh water from salt water, and the byproduct is electricity. So these types of technologies, this way of thinking, I think shows how really these huge problems are actually very, very solvable. Goal number 5, equalizing gender. This is the great civil rights movement of our time, I believe. I've been working with with UN Women on the working group of gender and youth equality, and I think we see also how big of an opportunity it is. This is Vu Van, one of the entrepreneurs I've been advising. She's from Vietnam, went to Stanford's Master's in Education and Business School. She just won at South by Southwest Education, creating a language platform for pronunciation that takes artificial intelligence and is able to tell you what parts of the word you're saying incorrectly. We now know that companies that have women leaders, whether founding members or board members, actually are more successful. And yet we still haven't seen that shift yet. We now see that companies that are sustainable are more profitable, but we haven't seen that shift yet. So again, these are the great challenges of our time, but something that we can really win here. And I urge you all, as you start to create your own organizations, as you start to join your own, really look at how you can have diversity, how you can have gender equality, and equality on all those levels as well. And this goes across all sectors, but I think that once we start to see real leaders in the startup community, and there are many, then that can permeate through our larger institutions. Goal number 4, ensuring education. This is something I think that, again, is of the most exciting, that we can talk about how we redefine education. So many of our systems of education are working towards manufacturing jobs. That there's a quote by one of the architects of the educational systems of the 19th and 20th centuries saying that they want a production force of workers, not of thinkers. And I think that's truly not the spirit of our education anymore. I think that we're able to move towards systems where people are able to learn and do what they love. And I think that you all at such an amazing educational institution really should take advantage of these resources. But also recognize that the resources are all over the world. This is on my way to Kaluyala, a place in Panama where I led an entrepreneurship workshop. And they are completely off the grid, but able to still get internet, still able to connect with people all over the world. And even in the most remote places, you can still have all the access, all the resources of Silicon Valley. And so education is such a core part of that. From the very beginning of learning to read to starting a company, I think that we should really focus and always be learning. Goal number 3, solving health. This, I think, is a really fascinating topic. And we've seen in the past couple years our lifespans increasing dramatically, almost doubling in the past, I believe, 40 years. But our health spans really don't keep up with that rate. people are living longer, but are they truly healthier? There's so many people just hooked up to machines and really struggling. People losing their bodies and their minds, but also people dying and really suffering from curable diseases. So I think that this is such an important issue that we focus on. And I think that technology is really going to be able to solve that. Not just on the symptoms, but really the root causes of healthcare. This is Lat Ware, founder of Crooked Tree Studios. This is one of our portfolio companies, and he created a video game called Throw Trucks with Your Mind, where you do just that. It's a video game where you connect yourself to an EEG headset, and it measures how focused and how calm you are, and based on that you have Jedi powers. You're able to throw cars, and what they're actually able to do is show that it's treating ADD, ADHD, depression, it's gamifying meditation. And there are many groups along those lines that are working on really curing so many of our brain issues. And as Americans, I think there are 140 million people prescribed psychotropic drugs. There is really an epidemic, especially in Silicon Valley, with depression and these issues. And I think that technology can really start to solve that. With our minds, but also our bodies. There are research institutions that are able to take nanobots and swim through our bloodstream and kill cancer cells. And so we're going to see this technology start to rapidly accelerate. And I think it's very important that we have these discussions of what it looks like to start to really take away the core causes of aging. They were just able, I believe, a month ago to unfreeze a rabbit's brain with no damage. So they vitrified it and cooled it down to, I believe, over 150 degrees below zero, and revived it. So imagine all these people you hear about freezing themselves, being able to bring them back to life. So I think within our lifetime, we're going to start to really redefine what it means to have a lifetime, and maybe not an end to that. So that's an exciting topic. Goal number 2, securing food. This is a huge issue, and even more interestingly than the fact that people are food insecure, the fact that people are over-secure. There's now, we're seeing the shift in the graphs of obesity versus hunger, extreme hunger in the world. And so I think food security isn't just about whether you have food or not, it's about how you're consuming food. And in the US, we see that really magnified, that we produce enough food globally to feed 10 billion people, but still so many billions are food insecure. In the US, we waste almost 40% of the food we eat. And I think there's a lot we can do just on our distribution systems, but also with stem cells, with also being able to just 3D print meat. I think is going to be one of the most exciting things. This is Glenn Snow, one of our other entrepreneurs. He created the International Milk Bank. So this is the largest database of human milk donations. So new mothers are economically empowered to donate their milk, and then it produces the 9 million ounce deficit in the world for prenatal babies. So systems like this, where we're able to get stem cells from human breast milk, we're able to get it from non-embryonic cells, and really look into where we get our food from and what our bodies really need. And goal number 1, ending poverty. Truly the great problem of our time and of all time. But now is really the time that we can solve this, that we can reach these goals of creating abundance for everyone. And I think